Peace, neighbors. Yo, what's poppin' with the population, man? Y'all see, man, we a little bit extra cozy today here in the sunny South Florida, you heard? We get cold too. I know all my people up north, man, what y'all saying, oh, it ain't that cold up there. Listen, move down here for 2 years, we're gonna see how cold you get, feel me? It's a little chilly for us, but nonetheless, man, welcome back to the greatest More Life show on the planet. It's your favorite neighbor, Dayron, aka Neighborhood. What I just showed you here is my transitioning compost, yes, or what I would call my transitioning compost. It's my smaller compost that I continuously feed and allow raw materials that I make from whether it's juicing or my tea scraps, like when I make my loose leaf teas, my excess cardboard from whatever orders that I package, I throw it in here so that it could break down. And my main compost that I fill up with the big things, like when I mow the lawn, I fill that up with that. Every so often I'll flip it because it's pretty big, so I'll flip it time to time. But that's my main compost that I allow the whole thing to break down so that I can use it. I do want to fill the whole container, and I'm about to show you guys it. It's a bit of a journey getting to it a little bit as I got things all around it. All right, neighbor, so this right here is my big compost bin right here. If you guys have been watching and following the journey, I have 3 compost episodes. I have a composting part 1, part 2, and then the third composting video isn't really me showing you guys how to compost. I basically just upgraded from a trash bin that I showed you earlier in the video to what you see here is a geo bin. This geo bin right here I got off of Amazon. Costs about 30 to 40 bucks, and it holds way more compost. Now this is the major compost that I have that I'm going to be utilizing from in my potting mixes in due time. But for now, I'm just trying to keep filling it up. Typically what I fill it up with is whenever I mow the grass or leaf cuttings, sticks, cardboard, stuff like that. I fill it up with. Whenever I fill it up with those things, that's when I flip my this big compost bin. This compost has a lot of worms in it, like a lot. And I have not used worm castings or none of that stuff. It just naturally has a lot of worms in it, a lot of worm activity in it. And that's simply because it's just nutrient dense and healthy, you feel me? It has ants in it as well, which is air, which I see and notice that it's aerating it. There's still some raw materials in it towards the top. Like, neighbors, look at all these worms, these baby worms, and this nutrient-dense compost. Mind you, neighbors, I don't use worm castings. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying, oh, don't use worm castings. I'm just saying I don't go and purchase worm castings because you can easily start attracting worms in your compost, neighbors. You can start attracting them by making sure you're feeding the compost, making sure you're putting the raw materials in there that they're going to eat, like cardboard, and making sure it's not too dry in there as well. You want to water it every now and then. You don't want it to be wet because you don't want to turn it anaerobic because you will suffocate them. But you want to make sure it's nice and hydrated so that it's moist in there. There's no cap in the wrap, neighbors. It's breaking down pretty finely. You know, if I were to dig on the top, you would be able to see a little bit of juice scraps on the top. But, you know, I try not to add as much because I do want it to fully break down so that I can start using it. This will eventually be my main source of compost that I use for my potting mixes. I want to fill it to here at least before I start using it. So I have a few more times of me cutting the grass and stuff like that to where I start using it. And I don't flip it as often because most of it is broken down. This compost here is probably about 70 to 80% broken down. I moved it in here. I did do a heavy flip as well as, you know, a few other flips after that. I don't really spend too much time flipping it because most of it is broken down. And a lot of it came from that trash bin. That was my primary source of storing my compost. But now, as you guys can see, it is this geo bin. This geo bin could possibly fit, I would say 100 gallons or a little bit under that, probably like 50 to 70 gallons. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I got it off Amazon for like 30, 40 bucks if you guys want to tap into it. It's very great, has a good aeration system in it, it's durable. I have it sitting on like a pallet that I got from one of these stores that, you know, don't use the pallet. They have them sitting out, and I just asked them if I could get them so that I elevate my compost and have it off the ground so that any and everything isn't just in there just wilding out in my compost, you feel me? Especially when it comes to like ants. If you do see ants in your compost, that's not a bad thing, but if you see ants with a mixture of different bugs like aphids and mealybugs, stuff like that, may be a problem. But I don't really see that too much in here. I just be seeing ants in there, and that's simply just because probably sense the food. Like I said, nonetheless, this is very healthy compost. I do still fill it with raw material, but just not as much raw material as that smaller compost, because that is more so for my much newer, fresher raw materials. Then when that gets broken down to about 70%, I'm going to then take that compost and transfer it into this one. That's when I'll do a major flip and make sure it's all well incorporated, neighbors. I start composting. Compost today. Stop buying compost. It's free. You get rid of stuff that you can compost every day. I'm more on the plant-based side, so I don't really compost things like eggs, stuff like that. Now, I still do live with people that eat eggs, so if they happen to save the eggshells, I'll throw it in there as well. But you know, if you have any type of juice scraps, you're into making teas like me, I've been making a habit to start making my teas every morning. I have loose leaf teas. I don't do tea bags. 2026, stop using tea bags, man. Make your own tea mixes or cop from somebody that makes good quality herbal teas. Use those tea scraps and put them in your compost. You gotta think about it, neighbors. This tea that we utilize to heal the body or to turn on our body's healing modalities are very nutrient dense. They're full of iron, vitamin C, and all these other things. When you are utilizing them for one time and throwing them away, that's a huge waste. Why do that when you can take that, especially if you grow your own, and then repurpose it into your compost? Then let the worms and let the mycelium and the microorganisms break that down and release it back into the compost, which will then, you know, when you feed your trees or when you make your potting mixes, will then feed your trees. And then the offspring of these trees that you harvest will then feed you in due time, neighbors. It's about reusing, man, repurposing, neighbors. Stop just throwing away things. These same things you throw away, companies that you buy these composts from are, you know, taking them from stores and reusing it and then selling it back to you because you don't want to do that work, which it really isn't that much work. Composting is not much work. The most amount of work you have to do composting is when you're flipping it, and that depends on how big your compost is. You don't have to flip your compost every single day. You only have to flip it every week. You can flip it every 2-3 weeks. The typical narrative out there is that you got to constantly wait 3 to 6 months for your compost to break down. My very first time composting, I made my own lactose bacillus bacteria, which I'm gonna make an episode on that, and it broke down in about 30 to 40 days. There's ways that you can help assist your compost to break down in a record amount of time. The more microorganisms and worms that your compost has, the faster it will break down. And the more you keep up with, I want to say hydrating it every day, but every now and then, the faster it will break down. Take note of that, neighbors. Let's start composting more. You know what I'm saying? You have so much compost gold around you. Just came off the season, especially if you live up north or even in South Florida. We just came off a season where most of our leaves were falling off the tree. Instead of getting all those leaves and throwing them away, like I showed you guys in one of my episodes, you could take these leaves and repurpose it, turn those into compost. You're sitting on gold, abundance of gold at that. When you cut branches, you could chop up the branches into small pieces or mow over the branches and turn them into little wood chips and feed them back into your soil. Leaves that fall on the ground, old dirt that you're no longer using, you could repurpose it back into your compost. You know, food scraps is the biggest one that we all know of. You can start repurposing and start making your own compost, neighbors. It's free. Well, it's not free in the grand scheme of things because you ultimately paid the price for some of these things. But to make your own, it's free, neighbors. Instead of going to the store and constantly having to buy it, you can make your own. Then you could set up a system to where you'll never run out of compost. Like you guys see me, I have a compost that's damn near 70% broken down, which I could probably start using now. Then I have compost that's around 30 to 50% broken down, where I'm constantly adding to it, filling that up until it gets to the point where it's about 60 to 70% broken down. Then I could transfer that into this one and then start the process over. That way I'm never really running out of compost. Neighbors, it's possible. You don't necessarily have to have some fancy setup or fancy buckets or anything. You can start with a wire rack. As long as you have something to keep the compost, you know, in one place and not everywhere, you're good to go. I've seen people have wire racks that they make, and then they put their compost in the middle. I've seen people, they put tarps on the ground, they put their compost on the tarp and they cover it and do a hot compost, which will also help your compost break down even faster. There's many different ways to go about not only making your compost, but storing your compost. There's so many different ways you could go about repurposing what you already have to make your own nutrient-dense compost, neighbors. And the best thing about making your own, neighbors, and doing DIY projects is you know every single thing that went into this process. Whether it's making your own compost and formulating this compost, or whatever makeshift thing to house this compost. You know every material that was used, so you're gonna appreciate the process more. You're gonna learn more about it, learn more about yourself, learn more about nature. You're gonna learn more about how things work together and everything in between, neighbors. It's such a beautiful experience. I highly advise you to start composting and stop buying this bullshit out here that they selling. One, they overpricing it. Two, got so much additives that we don't even know that they putting in this shit. It's no better way to go about it. Even if you don't want to make your own compost, okay? Support people that do, like your favorite neighbor, you feel me? That being said, man, let's get outside, let's get to growing and composting so that our health could get to glowing in the long run, neighbors. Let's get away from just constantly questioning and start cutting off, actually knowing whatever we're utilizing. And how do you know? Is by making your own or supporting people that are truly righteously making their own. Y'all already know, do y'all neighborhood due diligence, get this episode a like, make sure to comment neighborhood in the comments below, as well as follow me on my socials at neighborhoodnature_. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Why? So we could continue to grow this channel one neighbor at a time. So if you want to start your food forest journey but don't know where to start, hit that link in the bio, man. nhgrowers.com. We got a growing collection of fruit bearing trees, seeds, and occasional herbs that we offer the neighborhood for you to start your food forest journey or to help assist you in your healing journey. Y'all already know the neighborhood mainstay motto, which is grow your own / support true righteous local growers like myself, or continue to rely on a broken system to supply you their own. We all know what they supplying, especially when it comes to the composting. They giving us expensive ass compost with a bunch of fillers in it, unbroken down wood chips, and just shit that we don't even know is in it. Peace, love, light. Much healing to you and yours. It's your favorite neighbor, Dayron, aka Neighborhood. See you on the next one. Yeah, they.